What is going on, everybody? This is your boy XQ420. Welcome, everybody, back. Another episode, Showtime with the Cube. This afternoon, I have got Mr. Ryder Lee with me to talk about a little bit of Last of Us, Episode 5. Ryder, how are you doing this afternoon?
Doing great. Ready to jump into this episode. I really liked it. Really enjoyed it. So let's get into this bad boy.
There you go. Now, if it's the first time to this channel, don't hesitate to hit that subscribe button. If you watch us on YouTube, if you listen to us on podcast platforms, hit the follow button there as well. We appreciate everybody who has been checking us out so far. So, as I said earlier, today we're going to be jumping into The Last of Us, Episode 5. It came out early. It came out on Friday this week, and we're assuming that's because of the Super Bowl. Can we assume that, Ryder?
Can't compete with the Super Bowl, my friend. It's not the Last of Us Bowl. It's the Super Bowl, So they had to release it on a Friday, which I don't blame them for. That would have definitely diminished the numbers of The Last of Us for sure. Even though Rihanna's what is she? She's the halftime performer in the Super Bowl this year, isn't she? I'm pretty sure it's Rihanna. It's going to be a disaster.
It's Rihanna. You don't think it's going? I mean, she might sing. What's that? Umbrella. She might even do Rude Boy. You know what I'm saying? Rude Boy.
I want to hear that work song. That stupid freaking work song, dude. Where she's like grinding all up on Drake and shit.
That's a no-go, guys. That's a no-go for me. That is definitely a no-go for me on that. I don't know what Ryder's talking about, okay? Just overlook Ryder, because every once in a while he gets off in these tirades and he's asking for stuff that nobody really wants to see. Well, there's a few people want to see it, but people who are sane don't want to see it. So
well, whenever everyone watches the Super Bowl, if they don't know what that song is, I guarantee she's going to play it. And then when you're watching it on Sunday, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. So you
are going to know the work song, okay?
You're going to know the work song.
And you're going to feel like you need to go to work afterwards, I guess. I mean,
I don't know what work she's talking about in the show, but it's definitely important work that she's doing. So
yeah, we're not sure what work, but it's all good. So yeah, it dropped this Friday, so early release. So we're gonna have a little bit of a gap before the next release, but we're diving right into this. It hit us immediately with the flashback. Flashback is back, Ryder.
Which is exactly what we said last week would happen. Yeah, if people remember and went back and watched that episode of last week, we both said that there was going to be a flashback in the beginning of this episode. Now, what I didn't expect, because what I said in that last episode that we did together, I was like, well, if they're going to do a flashback, then that means that they're planning on carrying these characters over, right? And if they're not planning on carrying the characters over in later episodes, then they won't do a flashback. So I don't know. And we seen that the flashback wasn't that too far in the past, which kind of confused me in the beginning of this cube. I was like, what is going on here? Because it made it kind of seem like from that opening scene that because we seen like the militia that was kind of like overtaking the Fireflies, or
I thought it was like years before. That's what I thought.
And then all of a sudden you see Henry and Sam, and then they're like, and I thought something was weird because Sam seemed the exact same age that he was in the previous episode. So I was like, this has got to be like really close to this amount of time, because if there's a big time gap, he would be much older. Right. So it was kind of weird and a little confusing, but it got explained more throughout the episode.
Right. Exactly. And so the flashback hit us. It shows Sam and Henry as they're making their way through the city. It shows the initial hiding place where the doctor had put them. And then it shows the people who snitched on the doctor. Okay. Yeah. The snitches, the rats. That's what they called them anyway. Collaborators. That's what they called them. The collaborators. So it did show them. But doesn't everybody know that once you tell the people the information that they're going to kill you? I mean, in the obvious. Ryder, help me out.
Absolutely. They should have all known that they were going to die. They couldn't. There's no way that they could have saved themselves in that situation. Like, Kathleen is a horrible leader that I think that she is. She did not do any better in this episode at all.
And she led to the demise of the group.
Yeah,
because she relied on emotion as opposed to intelligence.
Yep, which is really weird because they made it seem like in this episode that she was kind of the brains of the operation, and that her brother was kind of the leading force. He was that forceful type of character that was leading all of the men, and she was kind of the brains. And then he died, and then she kind of rose to power that way. But it still doesn't make her character any more fleshed out at all. I just think they did a horrible job with the Kathleen character. I just did not buy her whatsoever being in this role. There was a few inconsistencies too within the story, which I found interesting. Whenever she's in the house that she grew up in, right? She's talking to Perry, and she's like, "Yeah, the last time that I seen my brother, he was asking me to forgive." And then later on, we realized that Henry was the one that betrayed her brother.
Yeah, Mike.
So it didn't really make too much sense there. Like, how was the last time that you seen him, he was asking you to forgive whenever he died? It didn't ring a lot of bells with me. I didn't really understand that scene. That whole scene with her in her house or whatever, her childhood home, could have just been cut from the entire episode. It really served no purpose, especially when you get to the end. You know,
well, she has very poor screen presence.
Yeah, bad screen presence.
I mean, what else was she in? Has she done anything else? She looks so familiar. Melanie Linsky. Let's see here. Let's see if she's done anything else.
Probably B and D movies.
Let's see. Manor. She's done nothing. She's literally. I mean, she's been in stuff, of course, but I mean, we're talking about The Great and the Small, 1 Mile to You, Girl Boss, The Changeover. You know what I'm saying? Lady of the Manor. I mean,
a bunch of indie films.
I mean, it's like, I mean, wow, that's the one you want to be a strong leader. It's like, I mean, a hardened leader. It said that's not it. Now, Henry, the betrayal of Michael, was for a leukemia drug for Sam.
Yeah.
We have found out that Sam had leukemia, and obviously there was one leukemia drug left. Now I don't know if Michael had leukemia as well. That's what I wanted that fleshed out a little bit more. I was like, well, why wouldn't Michael just give him the leukemia drug? Or did you have to do something special to get the leukemia drug?
Yeah, they complicated that whole scenario hardcore because in the game, it's that Henry stole a bunch of supplies and food and stuff from another group, and then that's why they're after them. But they've complicated that story and made it about leukemia and and money. I mean, what else do we think that the entire apocalypse is going to be ran off of? It's going to be ran off of food and money and like goods and stuff. I don't think that anyone's concerned about leukemia medication.
Yeah, it's the one left. Hey, he was trying to save his brother. Now that's his brother. Henry is Sam's brother, not his father. Okay, so that did get flushed out within that. Another thing, as far as the flashbacks, is that they didn't really hold any weight. In particular, I mean, it's just like they could have just started with Joel and Ellie and Sam and Henry during the confrontation, and I would have been fine with that. And if you maybe give me the flashback to the betrayal of Michael, or maybe days before the betrayal, and then you find out, Henry and Michael, like they're buddy and all this, and then flashback to, well, not flashback, but come back to present time, and then you come to find out it's like, yeah, I have killed somebody before. It's Michael. It's like, oh shit, you know what I'm saying? So that would have gave that a little bit more weight. What do you think about that, Ryder?
So far, the flashbacks have been completely useless. besides the very first flashback, was a little more exposition about how the virus and the fungi got exposed to the population and all that. The rest of them have just been, they don't serve any purpose to the overall overarching story, especially when you get to the end of episode 3. Made absolutely no sense. We've already talked about that several times. It did not serve the story. We didn't have a flashback in episode 4, and then we had a very minor flashback in this episode, and by the end it served zero purpose.
Yeah. Yeah. That's I mean, you're spot on. It pretty much served no purpose. But I mean, I guess that's okay. I guess it was also trying to show how Kathleen was a hardened ruler, even though she didn't come across as that like at all. And this, her using her emotion actually causes the downfall of an entire city. She is the downfall of an entire city, using her emotion, revenge. At this point in time, you kind of got to let bygones be bygones and worried about keeping the city safe. And also, Perry had showed before, it's like, hey, the ground's breathing. These creatures about to bust up out of here. You know what I'm saying?
And then this episode, it was the second time he questioned her leadership. Yeah. He did it again in this episode. He was like, listen, should we be concentrated on Henry in this in this situation here? Don't you think we got some better things to worry about or whatever? And then she goes on a big old long, not endearing speech on her behalf at all. And then he's like, yes, you did so much for our militia. We support you. We're always behind. No, bro. What are you talking about, dude? Talk some sense into that woman. She's got zero brains. Zero brains.
Oh yeah, she's struggling in the highest of orders. There's no doubt about it. So after we get the initial flashback and things of that nature, go back. Joel and Ellie, Henry and Sam. Did you have something, Ryder?
Yeah, I just wanted to add a new theory in here. I think that the only way that it's possible for her to be in control of all of these men, if she's fucking all of them. New theory right here from Ryder Lee. Kathleen was banging all these dudes. That's the only way that she had any kind of control over them. That's it.
Well, leave it to Ryder to drag the nonsense out here. It's like Kathleen was giving up that punani to all these guys.
She got that poon power.
She got that center cut. Now, she did have center cut, okay? Did we see any other women? There might have been other women somewhere at some point in time. Maybe, potentially. But
I don't think so. I think that's what this apocalypse is missing. They're lacking on women, bro. They got a bunch of sausage fests going on. That's why they're so angry.
Well, you would have to think, you would probably have more. There are more women than men. Women are stronger than men, so in situations like this, the women would get attacked first and probably not be able to get away. So you would figure that there would be more zombie women at the end of the day.
Here's what supports my theory of Kathleen banging all the dudes a part of this militia, right? Because there was a few women in the audience of those collaborators, right? There was a few women in there. There was a few women sitting down in that group of collaborators that she was going to question. She was like, yes, I cannot let this militia get out of control. I'm going to have to kill all of them so I can reign supreme and be the only vagina in town.
There could be something like that. It could be something like that. She wants to reign supreme. Okay, we gotten off the rails. That's what we do, though. We got way off the rails in the Kathleen theories. Seeing how she perished in this episode. Henry and Sam, Joel and Ellie, they start to trust each other. They got a plan. He said, okay, look, They think that they've sent all of the infected down below the city and locked them down there. That would have been interesting to see how they managed to corral all of them in the tunnel, supposedly, and lock them down there. But he says he's got knowledge that there are none in the tunnels, okay? That there are none in the tunnels. Of course, Joel is like, are you serious? Is this a serious plan? It's like, yeah, there's none down there. And come to find out, there is none down there. And we actually see a former community that had been built down below ground. And it seemed like it housed a lot of children. It seemed like where there was a lot of children at. Of course, there's nobody there now. They've all perished. And I believe this particular scene was in the game as well. I watched a little bit of footage, how they had contrasting this episode with what was happening in the game. And they flip. You got to flip some stuff around, but they were pretty spot on as far as interactions, scenes, and things of that nature. So we see Sam and Ellie actually starting to build a bond right there. And the minute I start seeing them build a bond, I'm like, "But this shit ain't gonna go right." What do you think, Ryder?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. I was like, yeah, it's either one of two things. They only have one of two options. Either Henry and Sam go along with them, or something happens and they don't end up getting to go along with them, which is interesting when Ellie is like, yeah, every time I'm trying to convince Joel of something, I just ask him 100 times, and then he eventually says yes, which we see, play out later on in the episode. But yeah, that was the point that I was like, yeah, they're probably not going to carry these characters over, which then made me refer back to my previous statements of last week's episode. I was like, that beginning flashback scene just defeats the purpose and just makes absolutely no sense, So yeah, that was a little light that went off in my head. I was like, yeah, there's going to be something happen, but it was kind of like a psychological thing too, as well. It's kind of like in our review of Cabin in the Woods as well. It was playing on your psychological. It was like kind of like a little mental warfare. Are we going to keep these characters going? Are they going to go with Joel and Ellie, or are they not going to go in Joel and Ellie? Your logical brain was thinking they're not, but then what they're telling you in the episode, they're like,
they are, yeah,
maybe, So yeah, it was interesting the way that they did it.
Yeah, exactly. So they actually make it through the tunnels fine, and. Come to find out, Kathleen had somebody stationed outside the city, which was unbeknownst to Henry. And they could have not had an old man who couldn't see. they had the oldest dude in the city out there at night trying to shoot a rifle, dog. I'm like, what are you doing? Hey, once again, it's that good leadership. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's that good leadership. I mean, that Kathleen leadership. There's no doubt about it. Okay. Now, as this dude's shooting at Joel, Ellie, Henry, and Sam, okay, Joel decides that, hey, I'm gonna go in the house and I'm going to take him out. All right. Now, the whole time that Joel is going up to the house, the dude is shooting at him. And then he just assumes that Joel ran away. I'm like, because when Joel gets up there, the dude's still loading his rifle, looking outside. I'm like, no, what are you doing, man? I mean, it's like, that's why I was sitting there. I was like, y'all left the old guy out here. Guy got dementia, okay, with his rifle. You know what I'm saying? Man, he'd be lucky to hit anything. And this is the dude. Hey, let us know when they come around and try to slow them down. Put a round in them. I was like, man, this guy ain't putting a round in nothing. He more likely to put a round in himself. What you think about that, Ryan?
Yeah, I thought that was kind of strange that the guy was so old, but we kind of seen that from the way that he wasn't hitting anything. They were basically right in front of him, and he wasn't hitting shit. He was like those stormtroopers on Star Wars. The target's right in front of him, and they're just shooting all around the target and never hitting them. But I did think that was really interesting how because I expected more people to be up in that house than just that old man. And then whenever Joel goes up there and sees the old guy just sitting there with his rifle in the window, I was like, this is what they bring to a party, that from a person that they've been trying to kill for months now, that they've been tracking for months. They station an old guy up here. It doesn't have. He looks like he's like 70 years old, dude. Like, what are they doing, bro? You think you would put a little bit more security than one old ass dude up there? Like, at least put somebody else in some other house. Like, have the old guy just be the lookout and have an actual young dude be the sharpshooter in the situation. But yeah, I thought it was kind of odd. But then it turned out that, which I don't think Joel really wanted to kill him either. I think that he was trying to give him a chance. He was kind of like, hey, do you really want to do this? And then the old guy kind of made his decision, and then he popped off the round. But another thing that I thought was interesting was when Henry tried to kind of escape and kind of break off from Ellie and Joel there for a minute whenever they were hiding behind the car. Like, Henry was like, oh yeah, we're dipping now. You know what I mean? It's about to get hot and heavy in here. And then apparently the old guy can see them. It's dark outside. Who knows? But they ended up coming back. But I thought that was pretty interesting little scenario there, because if they were willing to dip in that kind of situation, were they really going to be that reliable in the future when things are getting hot and heavy? So it's kind of like a foreshadowing thing that maybe they're not going to last too long.
Exactly. So yeah, Joel puts down the old guy, and then Kathleen shows up with her militia. The Resistance is what they're called, the Resistance.
Yeah.
And one of the Joel actually shoots the main trucker down, and it crashes into a house. Okay. Henry comes out, and you're like, okay, Kathleen pulls the gun out, and the way she pulled the gun out is like she hadn't handled the gun. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's just like, it's like, why so dramatic with the gun? You know what I'm saying? Yeah. I mean, most of the time people just, but she got a wide stance. I'm like, Henry's like 3 feet away from you. You don't need a wide stance. Right? If you miss, dog, you can't shoot. At that point in time, you start to hear something, and the truck falls in the house, which I guess is right where all the infected were. I was like, holy hell. And when they came out, dude, they came out with a vengeance. I was like, y'all screwed.
Yep.
Y'all screwed. And they were.
That was like a spray your guns everywhere type of situation. Like, this is a run for the hills type of situation. We're not getting out of this. We just take as many out that we can in one foul swoop type of situation. I really did like the bloater though. But before we get into that whole situation, I thought this was really funny, right? Because there's a lot of stuff going on out there. There's a bunch of gunfire, a lot of people screaming and yelling and all that. And then Ellie, Joel's defending Ellie from the house with the rifle. He's kind of taking out a lot of the infected and stuff. And then Ellie climbs into a back of a car. She went into the back window of a car and then got into the front seat. And then we're kind of led to believe that a clicker, amongst all of that gunfire and everything that's going on, it somehow hears Ellie inside of a car and then comes after her.
And had the weirdest slither in the car ever, dude. That was freaky. I mean, it's like contorting the back. I was like, what the hell is happening here? Now, everything that came out that hole were clickers and then one blower. So the clickers are all noise, though. They can only hear. They don't have eyes. So whenever they hear something, they attack it. That's why Joel and whenever they were in the museum, they were like, be really quiet. Don't make any noises, because they're, trying to stay free and clear of the clickers. That's how they detect someone to attack, or that something's in a building or in the surrounding areas, based off of noise, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm like, how in the world did this one clicker hear Ellie inside of a car when all this chaos is happening
outside
all
as
over the
well.
place.
It's just crazy. Joel's shooting shots from the house. There's a bunch of machine guns and gunfire and all the trucks running by. They have that big bulldozer running over infected and all that. And I'm like, we're led to believe that a clicker could hear Ellie in the car.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what you're supposed to believe. Okay, that's hey, suspend disbelief. Is that what that is? Or suspend belief, whichever one it is. So it's just a flat out massacre right there. Okay, it's a flat out massacre. The bloater gets a hold of Perry, and he rips his head off. The bloater didn't infect people. The bloater just straight kills folks. The bloater ain't worried about infecting nothing. It's just when he gets his hands on you, it just rips you apart.
Coming for blood.
That's the bloater's purpose. And obviously we've seen how hard it is to actually put a bloater down. Now, I know from the game they said the best way to kill one of those is fire. So I'm pretty sure we'll see that in future episodes. I feel Joel and Ellie have to go up against another bloater at some point in time, and that should come to fruition there. Henry and Sam were underneath the truck during that time. I was like, okay, so which one got beat? I mean, that I automatic because they were kicking. I'm like, okay, one of y'all got beat.
Yep.
All right. I wasn't sure if it was Henry or not. I was like, okay, which one was? Did you think one of them had got beat in that point in time?
There was a suspicion that maybe one of them had gotten bitten, but I kind of had a theory that maybe Sam was like Ellie. And that was a reason that Henry was protecting Sam because he's been infected and he's immune. And he's trying, and the whole leukemia thing and Henry protecting him this entire time was a lie that he told to Joel. And it was really that he was immune and that Henry was trying to get him out of the city because to find a cure as well. And I kind of thought maybe that would be a direction that they kind of went with it, which I thought would have been pretty interesting because it didn't seem like that Henry was telling the full story there, that there was more, and there was more. He told Joel more later on, and you kind of seen like a soft spot for Joel there a little bit, which is kind of a little bit of foreshadowing for things that, are to come in the future. Based on what Joel is going to have to do for Ellie and the bad things that he's going to have to do to protect her as well. Whenever Henry's explaining the bad things that he had to do and that he's a bad person and all that. So, that's kind of where I thought that they were going to try and go with it. But my theory was debunked pretty quickly.
Yeah, it was debunked. Now, as they're trying to get away, of course, Kathleen still in her emotions, and all of her crew getting killed, all of them getting killed, and she's still like, if I can just kill Henry, then I feel like everything would have been worth it. You're like, I was like, you have literally led to the demise of an entire city. That's what she did.
Which is exactly what we predicted on the last episode. If you remember, we said at the end of that episode that we believed that the infected and the bloater was going to provide cover for them to escape. And that's exactly what happened in that scenario. But yes, she definitely did. And I think that she should have listened to Perry whenever he was like, let's take care of this big old monster that's underneath the ground that's trying to come up like right now. This is an immediate threat that we need to take care of right now. We can take care of Henry and Sam and all those people or whoever else might be coming to assist them later on. They're not going anywhere. It's going to be difficult for them to escape. Now, this thing is a whole other problem. So I think that if she would have eliminated that threat from the very jump, they wouldn't have had to deal with the bloater. Right, because you could have just, if that's how they're eliminated is by fire, they could have just threw some gasoline on that area and just lit that whole building on fire. Might not have, exactly killed him, but it would have damaged him, and they wouldn't have had to dealt with the big bloater at the end, because I think that was really the problem. They probably could have taken care of a lot of the clickers and stuff in that way more easy than that big giant ass motherfucker, you know?
Oh yeah, they had no shot against him. So Kathleen gets killed by the little by the kid clicker who was initially after Ellie. And so yeah, that's it for Kathleen. I mean, we appreciate you for stopping by, but we'll send you off. Two episodes.
And thank God. And thank God. Thank God she's gone. I could not stand her character. I'm ready to move on. Get her out of the way. But I did like Perry, though, dude. I did not want Perry to die. I wish Perry would have just joined the crew of Ellie and Sam and Joel and Henry. I think that would have been dope. If he would have just been the last one left, and then they were like, "Hey, brother, come on over. We'll take this trip on the road, dude."
I know one thing. When Perry was shooting at that bloater and he ran out of bullets, it was at this moment that he knew he fucked up. I mean, he was like, "I'm screwed." I mean, he ran back and he just got his whole head taken off. I was like, "Okay, hey, I mean, I guess there's worse ways to go. I guess that should have been quick and swift." So Henry,
it really reminded me. Have you seen the movie Silent Hill?
Oh yeah.
The pyramid head. Whenever they're going up to the church, they're all trying to get sanctuary in the church or whatever, and Pyramid Head comes up and rips that freaking lady in half. That's what it reminded me of. It was a badass scene. It's one of my favorite scenes.
Yep. So we actually see Joel, Ellie, Sam, Henry make it back to a hotel. They're staying in the hotel. At that point in time, my suspicion, I was sitting there, I was like, man, Henry's been bit. I was like, man, I'm sure of it, man. It's just the way his nuance. I was like, something's not right with Henry. But come to find out, Sam is the one that had been bit. And he kind of foreshadows it. It's like, are you still in there after you become a monster? And I was just like, oh, shit, this dude's been bit. Now, at this point in time, Ellie does an attempt to cure him by using her blood. I wasn't sure if that was going to work or not. Did you think that was going to work right or initially?
I thought that was a really interesting way to do it because, again, I wasn't too sure that any of them had been bit. And then I was thinking, again, back to my previous theory, whenever he revealed to Ellie that he had been bit, that maybe he was immune. And that wasn't his second time, and they were going to bond over that of them both being immune. And maybe it was Henry that was bit, and then Henry would have been the one that tried to attack and kill Sam, and then they both ended up dying. But it ended up being a reverse scenario of that. But I did think that was really interesting because she's been pumped up this entire time from the Fireflies that her blood can cure people, right? So It made sense to her, being that young and that naive, that she could cut her hand open and then wipe her blood on the infected part of Sam, and that could possibly
save him.
Save him. I mean, that's logical. That would be the logic. If I was that young, if I was Ellie's age, and I was told that my blood can prevent a virus or a disease or an infection like this, then I would probably think that way too, because I wasn't told any better. So I actually believed that she could do it, and it was really interesting. So, yeah, then it turned out that not the case. She wakes up. Sam asks her to stay up all night with him, and she falls asleep, and he's sitting at the edge of the bed.
He's just sitting.
Just lurking, just waiting.
And you know what? It was kind of just like the way Grandma was as well. Yeah. When she was sitting in the on the first episode, when she was sitting in her mouth, all of a sudden just open up and then close back real quick. Yeah. It's kind of the same thing, the same foreshadowing. So they bust through. Of course, Sam attacks Ellie. They bust through. Henry and Joel wake up. Henry immediately picks the gun up and he shoots at the ground at Joel. and then he shoots Sam in the head, and then that's like the realization right there that he just lost everything.
Yep.
There it was. I mean, and I knew, I was like, man, he's going to shoot himself. The bell was tolling for him. I was like, that's the end of the road for him. Without Sam, there's really no point of living. What you think about that particular scene, the emotion within it, and how that kind of ties back to the continued bond in between Joel and Ellie?
I loved it, honestly, and it proves that M. Night Shyamalan Ding Dong could have killed the girl in Knock at the Cabin, because they just killed a freaking kid that was like 8 years old in this TV show. There's no excuse, M. Night Shyamalan Ding Dong. You could have done it.
No excuse at all.
Missed the opportunity. But I really did like that, and it was kind of like unexpected, because I try and watch TV shows and movies, like especially this, because I think it's, pretty solid and pretty good. Not really trying to follow it too much or what I think is going to happen. I try and be a little bit surprised, and I do that on purpose so that I can be like, oh shit, And I thought that was really interesting, because I thought maybe he was going to try, what she does, try and shoot Joel. He fires a shot beside of him, and Joel's like, bro, what are you doing, dude? And he was like, you know what you got to do. And then, he shoots Sam, and then he realizes that huge mistake not a mistake, but he realized what he had to do, and he couldn't live with himself after that, and puts the gun to his head and blows his brains out with really not even a second thought. I think he says like one line or something like that after he shoots Sam. He's like, what did I do, or something like that? How what did I do to deserve this? Basically paraphrasing, but that's sort of what he says. Then he just puts the gun directly to his head and blows his brains out. And I was like, holy shit, they really did that.
Yeah, well, this does harken back, because that's the exact events that happen in the game as well. It's a little bit different as far as the nuance of it, but it's pretty much the exact same thing. Henry shoots Sam, Henry shoots himself. But it harkens back to one thing that Kathleen said that was true, is that you tried to escape fate and you couldn't escape fate, and it cost me my brother. And she was correct there. Sam was going to die anyway.
Yeah, and
that's
also
it, full circle.
Another cool thing that she said something along the lines of, are you willing to sacrifice humanity for, one person? Are you willing to sacrifice everyone and everything for just one person? Which I think is, again, that's a paraphrasing thing. It wasn't exactly what she said, but along the lines of what she said. And I think that's foreshadowing for what choices Joel is going to have to make in coming episodes and in the rest of the season for Ellie. So, yeah, she said some good things, but I still don't like her character.
yeah.
Still don't like it.
Character still won't look great. So the final scene, they're burying Henry and Sam. Ellie writes, "I'm sorry." And then you see a moment where Joel, like the gravity of everything that's been happening throughout his life, just kind of just weighs over him. Yeah. And then Ellie has to become the strong one, and she's just like, "Yeah, we need to go. Get your shit. We need to go. Wyoming, let's go." So it's just it's almost like the reversal of roles. Because what was it back when Ellie had shot that guy when he initially got in the city, and she was just kind of shell shocked a little bit. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of the reversal of roles of that. Like Joel's like, damn, bro. Is this gonna be me and Ellie? You know what I'm saying? Somebody burying us is more than likely. So it's just kind of the gravity of his entire life. His daughter dying, Tess dying. I mean, I got nothing. And the bond I'm starting to form with Ellie. What if I lose her? What if I fail? So it just kind of seemed like all those emotions were coming over him. Do you think that was the case in that situation?
I do. I think Joel felt the weight of the world coming down on him, and it's exactly like what we've been talking about on all of our reviews, is that they are starting to switch the roles of the characters. Ellie's starting to be more like Joel, and she's becoming tougher and more used to this reality. But I think Joel is upset too because he was kind of finding a friend within Henry as well. So they both kind of lost someone. Ellie lost Sam, and Joel lost Henry, because there was a little bit of a bonding there. Like,
Right.
I spoke about in the beginning, Joel was basically said to Henry, he was like, hey, we're going to Wyoming. We're trying to find Tommy. I think that's his name. His brother's name's Tommy, right? So we're trying to find Tommy, and I don't know how we're going to get there. We might be just going on foot, but you're welcome to come along with us. And Henry's like, yeah, let's do it. I'll tell Sam in the morning. Well, that turned out to be a different reality than what he was thinking was going to happen. But I think that was a good scene. And I think that Joel also lost someone in there, and he's been losing people just left and right in this whole thing. Everyone he's come across, all of his friends, has just kicked the bucket on him. So I think he was definitely feeling the weight of, because he kind of put off everything. He didn't want to talk about anything from this season, from any previous episodes at all. He's just been shut off from it. So he's just been repressing it. Right. And it kind of felt like this thing was kind of the straw that broke the camel's back. And he was like, damn. And then he's just reliving the past 3 months all at one time. Yep. He's like, shit.
Yep. That's it to a T. So that's episode 5, Last of Us. Good episode. We had some fungi zombies in this one. So that's good. Make sure to let us know that there are still fungi zombies around. Okay. And the danger that they pose, because they pose a significant danger. There's no doubt about that. It gave us a little preview to episode 6. Looks like we are going to meet back up with Tommy in episode 6. But I think there's going to be a little bit of tension in between him and Joel in this particular episode. So it'd be very interesting to see what happens there. Ryder, you got anything else for the people out there?
I think the next episode is going to be just a big character development piece. It's just going to be a lot of storyline and a lot of story arcs, and Tommy and Joel coming back together and discussing everything that's happened, because we already seen kind of a preview of that, with Tommy being like, no, bro, we weren't doing what was best. We were just killing people. You got to say it like it is, Joel. Just tell me that we just were murdering people. He's come to that realization. He's come a little bit further than Joel has in his progression of his character development. He's already past the point where Joel made that realization, and
right.
I think that a lot of it's just going to be exposition and character development, which won't be bad. I think that will be good, but I think that the little bit of action that they kind of threw together in the trailer, where those men on horses were all around, and Joel's like, come on, Ellie, we got to kind of run up this hill or whatever. I think that is the scouts or the guards or whatever for the city that they're in, that's going to take them to the place where Tommy is. I don't think that that's like a brawl or like a fight right there.
Gotcha.
So I think that's just a part of the story and the development to get them to where they need to get to meet Tommy. Now, it can be interesting. I think maybe what might happen in this next episode is that the people in this community get really freaked out over, they figure out that Ellie is infected. And that might be a reason why they have to leave this little settlement or this little area that they're in, and they might have to make another escape route, or they capture Ellie and they're holding her somewhere, and then Joel has to do all Mission Impossible on them, go all Tom Cruise on them MFers, and then get her, and then escape on horses. We're going back to the Middle Ages now. We're going back to the Western days. Leave at the Wisconsin to have all them horses up there. So, makes sense. I'm actually looking forward to the next episode, but I think it's going to be a lot of, not a lot of action. Highly doubt we'll see any. I think that there's going to be a time jump. They're definitely going to do a time jump, and they're going to be very nearby Wisconsin by the time that the episode starts. So I don't know how long of a time jump it's going to be, probably a couple of weeks or a month or something like that. That's just going to get us there really quickly, because we've already made this little pit stop here with all these resistance people and the
Right.
militia and all that. So they're not going to do that again before they get to where they're going in Wyoming. So that's what I think is going to happen, and it's possible that they have a little mini freak out because they think that Ellie's infected. So,
gotcha. Okay, all right. So, hey, that's a pretty good prediction. Pretty good prediction from the aficionado himself. So, I hope y'all guys enjoyed this episode. Make sure you're checking out The Last of Us. If you actually haven't watched any of it yet, go watch it. It's a good watch. Except episode 3. You can skip episode 3, as we've said before. And that still stands today. That still stands.
Absolutely.
So from your boy SQ420, the co-host on this one, Mr. Ryder Lee, the aficionado himself, we'll catch you on the next Showtime with the Cube. Peace out.